Greetings. My name is Michael Fluke, and you're watching the Philo Republic podcast. And in this episode, I would like to discuss a naughty opinion that I hold. I believe that there are many disgruntled, bitter, post-wall, estranged wives in the Philippines that are leveraging a particular family law against their husbands in an act of retribution and, of course, for cash and prizes. And the barrier to entry is so low. The burden of proof is virtually non-existent, thus the temptation. And I'm going to elaborate on many such cases right after the intro. All right, so this episode is an addendum to my very first episode that I published yesterday, which was about my belief that many of the laws in criminal and family courts in the Philippines are biased against men. And I listed many such laws, and I provided many examples of how those laws were interpreted and enforced. And one of those laws that I covered was VAWC'D, Violence Against Women and Children Act of the Philippines. And I didn't realize it at the time, but I was only scratching the surface. About an hour after publishing that episode, I came across an article that I thought was quite extraordinary, just for the sheer balls of this one estranged wife, for what she's done and what she's accepted from him. She got all the cash and prizes over 20 years, and she still decided to try to crush him. 20 years later, over 20 years later. And in the Philippines, as you know, on the books currently, there is no divorce law. And why would a woman want a divorce when she can come at you for infidelity 20 years past the point of separation and destroy your life out of retribution, right? So we're going to get right into that. But first, I would like to ask you a question. You know, we already know that the Fresh and Fit and whatever podcasts are very good at identifying the problem with the psychology of modern women in the West, and how much of a flaming dumpster fire dating and marriage is, and how all the laws are, set up to ruin men and all of that good stuff. And as a result, a lot of you guys are considering coming out to the Philippines to get a second lease on life, whether it's to retire or be a digital nomad, or to become a passport bro, find a wife, settle down, start a family, get married, all of that. And, so my American counterparts are really good at identifying the problem. And I thought if I was to take that format and import it to the Philippines, I could be identifying a solution. I could be demonstrating a solution. So here's what I propose. The original vision of the Philo Republic podcast was to host 4 to 5 exclusively Filipina guests in a discussion panel that is streamed live so you can engage as well for 3 hours, 3 days a week. And then, 2 other days of the week, I can make videos like this. And, after watching hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of ladies come through my doors, it would help you make an informed decision on whether or not the Philippines is for you. Right now, I'm covering off all of the bad, all the naughty stuff, all the nasty, you're going to see a trend in my first dozen or so episodes where I'm literally covering every bad thing that I can possibly think of as it relates to the Philippines. And the reason why I'm doing that is because so many of these Passport Bro podcasts, they're so biased and positive, and a lot of them don't cover the dark parts. And I don't want anybody to think I'm biased or I'm a shill. So, I figured before I get into these panel discussions, before I start doing that, I thought I would create a foundation of some negative aspects of life in the Philippines before I did that. So this is not going to be a poo-poo on the Philippines podcast. That is not its intent. It's actually quite the opposite. I believe that a discussion panel with 4 to 5 ladies, 3 days a week, is going to actually demonstrate that Filipinas, as well as the life in the Philippines, is actually very positive, very good. And you'll get to find out, because the discussion will pretty much be the same as Fresh and Fit. We're going to talk about marriage, dating, expectations, what they bring to the table, or whether or not they are the table, the type, and so on and so forth. So if you think that format exclusively with Filipinas, based in the Philippines, would bring value to you to help you plan the next phase of your life, I ask you to support the channel. You can support the channel in a number of different ways. You can like this video, you can subscribe to the channel, or you can support us monetarily, financially. And if you do that, that will help me out quite a bit, because the soundboard behind me used to be my couch. The camera I'm looking at used to be one of my air conditioners. And I've invested quite a bit of money into this. I've already got all the microphones and all the gear. I've converted a room in my house into a studio. And I've done casting for about 400 Filipinas in my area. It's been about 6 to 9 months of work already on this, but I ran out of runway. I need one more piece of equipment. It's called a YOLO box. It'll help me bridge multiple internet connections together, because it's not reliable here. And that way I can stream reliably. And then I also need a little bit of extra scratch to pay the ladies to come onto the show, because one, they're shy. The most attractive ladies usually are. And they also have, a life. So they have a day job that they have to go to, that they would have to take time off. So a little financial incentive goes a long way. So if you want to help me out, consider supporting the channel. And without taking up any more of your time grifting, I will get into this episode. So let's take a look here. So, that's all my filmed. There we go. So because of my current situation, I've been living in Asia for about 15 years. I've been living in the Philippines since 2016. And, I was with someone for about 8 years. We ended up getting married and starting a family and having kids. And now she's become, by her choice, an estranged wife. So this topic is sensitive. And hi, honey. I kind of want to approach this as a choir boy, and I don't want to throw any shade to my own situation, because frankly, thus far in my life here in the Philippines, I have seen no man, in my personal experience, in my lived experience, I have seen no man suffer under a VAWC claim personally. And I personally also have not suffered under a VAWC claim, and I would like to keep it that way. So I'm going to keep my personal life completely out of it. And I will probably do that for the entire podcast. Although you could join the members only community, where I can speak a little more openly in there. Not about that, not about my experience with marriage and whatnot, but my experience overall in Asia. I got stories, bro. I got stories, man. 15 years in Asia. Oh my goodness. So if you want to hear about that, check out the members only community. Links are in the description as well. All right, let's get into this one now. So an hour after publishing yesterday's episode, I came across this little jewel. And then I went down that rabbit hole, and then I assembled a document with several cases. It's kind of like Groundhog Day. The way the law is written is one thing, and the way it's written, the only part I really don't like about how it's written is that they can claim financial abuse or, something along those lines where, and then there's other laws that kind of overshadow it and are kind of intertwined with it. Like just watch yesterday's episode. It's about laws being biased against men, in my opinion. So yeah, I didn't really like the economic abuse part of it, because I thought, well, if a man is the sole provider and he controls the purse strings and he says no to a request, could that be interpreted in the law as financial abuse? And the answer is yes. Yes, it can be interpreted that way. So it's just, I find the laws, again, no one I know has ever dealt with a VAWC case, but man, these laws, the way they are interpreted and enforced, varies so wildly from one case to another. So let's just finally, without any further delay, this gentleman that you can see on the left side of your screen, Looks like he still goes to the gym. He just recently won an election. He's been separated from his wife, I believe, since 2004. And his wife is the lovely lady in the black dress. And so he's been separated from her since 2004. And he's continually supported her ever since. And last year, he decided to apply or, request an annulment. And he has to go through his wife for that, I believe. And when she got that, she dug a little deeper. And around that time, there were some reports that he was seeing the lovely lady in the red dress on the right. I'm sorry, but in my personal opinion, that is one hell of an upgrade, and good for you, brother, living your best life. Anyway, it is my opinion, that she got wind of that and didn't like it. She got triggered and decided to do what many ladies decide to do, is weaponize a part of the law against him to try to destroy him and drive the final stake through his heart. So now let's take a look at the document that I have prepared. When VAWC attacks, there are several documented cases in the Philippines where estranged wives have filed complaints under the Anti-Violence Against Women and Children Act against their husbands for psychological violence stemming from infidelity or cohabitation with a mistress. Even in situations where couples are separated but not legally annulled or divorced, such actions can still constitute violations under the law. From here on in, any type of psychological anything, I am just going to refer to as PV. It could be, distress. It could be whatever, because they have equated hurt feelings with violence in their interpretation of the law. That is how this law has just degenerated into the complete subjugation of any man that enters into a marriage contract. So I will just refer to it as PV, as I do not want to trip the algorithm, and I will move on. So I asked ChatGPT to provide only cases where couples were estranged and not living together any longer. Whether or not it succeeded at doing that is beyond me, as many of these articles are not in English, and I am only skimming this topic at a high level because I can't read some of them. If I am incorrect in any of this reporting, I refer you to the disclaimer at the beginning of this episode and would like to remind all viewers that this video and all of my videos and every piece of content that comes out with the name Philo Republic on it is for entertainment purposes only. What's important to note is that I am not intentionally trying to mislead my audience. That's the context. Let's keep moving. So as you know, in a later video, or you might not know, but in a later video, I'm going to make I'm going to cover a lot of laws that affect content creators specifically, whether you're a local or a foreigner, but especially if you're a foreigner. So I'm just trying to balance that right now because I'm already aware of what some of these laws are and I would like to respect them. I am a foreign man in a foreign land. Anyway, you can explore these cases further in your own time. If you would like to download the document that I'm currently reading from, I will provide a link to it in the video description below. Generally speaking, there is so much I'd like to say on this subject, but as a foreign man in a foreign land, I'd rather hedge my bets and keep most of my personal thoughts to myself. As you'll see in a future video, being a content creator, blah, blah, blah. I already said that. So consider joining the members-only community for a more candid conversation with me directly. All links are in the description below this video. And, I'm going to kind of adopt the format that Better Bachelor has. He's another podcaster from the States. And the guy's awesome. I really like him. I really like Levi Nix, Legion of Men, and then obviously Fresh and Fit and whatever. And there's a number of others. But I don't want to end up like Coach Red Pill. And if you know, you know. So that's why I'm covering my ass with all these disclaimers and whatnot. I'm sure it's annoying to listen to. But I'm going to kind of do what Better Bachelor is doing, where I'm going to have live streams where we can even kick our feet up, have a beer, and watch a movie together. So I'll be doing it always at times that are convenient for you. For instance, the panel discussions I would like to have, I would do them Sunday night, Monday night, Tuesday night, and then Wednesday night and Thursday night, I would release a video like this. And then Friday and Saturday, I could do live streams where we just watch a movie or something. So, all right, let's get into the first case, which covers, the lovely couple and this wonderful lady in the red dress to the left. So in this first notable case and legal precedent, Dominique, aka Nikki Lopez Benitez, versus her husband Alfredo, aka Albie Benitez, and this just recently happened, this year. She filed a VAWC complaint against her estranged husband, who was also a city mayor, alleging, who just recently won an election, alleging psychological and economic PV, due to his alleged relationship with actress and vlogger Ivana Alawi, the illustrious and beautiful bombshell of a lady in the pink dress, and fathering two illegitimate children, in air quotes, because I don't think any child is illegitimate. The complaint was filed shortly after he initiated annulment proceedings, raising questions about the motivations behind the filing. So he files to separate completely. She realizes, oh no more cash and prizes. And when you find out what those cash and prizes were, which I'm about to tell you, you're going to wonder how this woman even looks in the mirror. The man in question claimed that all high-value assets acquired during their marriage, including properties, vehicles, and investments, were funded by him but placed under his wife's name, despite their legal separation of assets back in 2004. So in good faith, he continued to put things in her name, even though they had technically separated in 2004. The nerve of this woman. He continued to provide not just ordinary support, but a high standard of living as well. He shouldered personal, household, and even extended family expenses for more than 2 decades. This also included his estranged wife's travel, her business ventures. He paid her staff and credit card charges. So she just, he paid for her staff and she just got the profit, even long after their separation. He also pointed out the public disclosure of names allegedly related to the case is a clear violation of the confidentiality clause under VAWC. So she named names and then she leaked. I don't know if she did it, but somebody leaked the affidavit, and I'll get into that a little bit too. It mysteriously got leaked, and it just feels like a shame, like a total. Just she's trying to nuke this guy, Anyway, so he also expressed full cooperation with legal proceedings and is confident that financial and legal records will refute the accusations. So it is my opinion that this ex-wife right here is miffed because he still looks good. He's not, past his prime. He's able to attract a lovely lady. Wow. And, it probably triggered her in my estimation. And so she decided to file a VAWC case. And I just found it really rich, some of the things that she stated in her claim. And I'm going to read a little bit from it. Under the law, the husband and wife are obliged to live together, observe mutual love, respect, and fidelity, and render mutual help and support. Now, he's done all these things. What he did was pretty darn respectful. Most divorces and separations are initiated by the lady. So I'm assuming, this is probably, statistically, it would make sense for me to assume that she initiated this separation. And he's just trying to move on with his life. He's been respectful. He's observed in some way, he's observed mutual love. He's taken care of her, taken care of her family. And he's rendered help and support. So he is following this expectation. As far as the fidelity thing, when there's no divorce law, but they have, it seems amicably, they've moved on and they live separate lives now. So, he would think, okay, she'll be cool, she'll be cool, but I guess not. So as a legal wife, she says, I have every right to expect fidelity and devotion commensurate with the commitment she herself upheld. And there is the sentence that I wanted to highlight. It is easy to uphold fidelity when the phone stops ringing, you're post-wall, and you look like the lady in the black dress. It's just, I don't think the boys are knocking on that door anymore. So, yeah, just, Anyway, so, this guy made a mistake too, a fatal error. And I kind of question what he was thinking. I don't know if he was obligated to tell on himself, but in his request for annulment, he did out himself as having 2 children outside of wedlock, and he alluded to having a relationship with someone who I don't think he named names. So this is what the wife says in her VAWC'D claim. While I heard rumors of respondents' infidelity early on, I had no proof of such facts. It was only when I received the petition for declaration of nullity of marriage filed by the respondent, and after reading the admission of respondent of having fathered 2 children outside of wedlock, and his implied admissions of his current illicit relationship with Ivana Alawi. Now, I don't think he named names because I don't think he would be that stupid. She's doing it. And then she leaks, I'm assuming she leaked this. So she's trying to drag the lady too, which I think this case should just be thrown out just for that fact. You know, because like what jury, if there's a jury, and you know, like it's just not fair at all. That I was able to confirm his marital infidelity. This is where she throws on the crocodile tears. I felt utterly betrayed by the respondent and was devastated beyond compare, after finally discovering and confirming the truth in the respondent's lies. You know, it's like in Southeast Asia in general, Thailand too, they have them too. They have these like soap operas that they feel like, you know, like if you ever watch like Telemundo or you know, like just like these, like they're in another language and the acting is so over the top. Like so over the top, you know, they eat that shit up out here and in Thailand too. And I think that she's got main character syndrome, and she's in one of those shows by the way she speaks in this. It's just so emotional. Anyway, so yeah, she was devastated beyond compare after finally discovering and confirming the truth in his lies. Any information concerning infidelity between married people undeniably causes, or at the very least is likely to cause, mental or emotional anguish. I forget what I was going to call that, but anyway, moving on. To assert otherwise would be to permit one spouse to engage ... because that's the end of the page, and that's the end of the leaked document that this covered. So he outed himself, man, and then he also got caught in Japan with Madam Ivana Alawi. He got caught in a photo. So, and that was back in 2004, right around the time that he tried to get an annulment. So, you know, I'm sure even, you know, the not so sharpest tool in the shed could figure it out, you know, and obviously his wife got triggered by all of this and decided to crush his soul. So that one is still playing out in the courts. So that's why I covered it first. But I guess we'll keep going. In this next case, and I'm just going to look at buzzwords. I'm going to look at like consequences and what the lady claims. I'm not going to read all of these, you know, as is. So in this one, in this next case, and you can actually go to LawPhil and you can look up these particular cases to see what the outcomes were. These are just very short, you know, descriptions of what happened in those cases. You can read the full case yourself if you want. You can also download this document that I'm reading from. And later in the cases I get to with celebrities, there's full articles that you can click on as well. So let's move on. So in this case, the husband, remembering now that you could be separated for up to 20 years. All of these cases are supposed to be where the husband and wife have moved on. They've legally separated. They are estranged. They are no longer together. So an extramarital affair, in air quotes, it could be a real long time after she collected her cash and prizes. It's not how we would perceive it in like through Western eyes, through a Western lens. We would, you know, understand that an extramarital affair is when you're actually still physically married and living with that person. But in the Philippines, because there is no divorce, an extramarital affair can be 20 years after separating and you're living completely separate lives. So now that I've beat that over the head enough, I'm going to continue. So the husband engaged in an extramarital affair while his wife was working abroad. He impregnated his mistress. So he moved on. She's not a mistress. I mean, I guess legally, but, and he sent messages to his wife instructing her not to contact him. The Supreme Court affirmed his conviction for PV, highlighting that the emotional and psychological abandonment can be more damaging than physical abandonment. Now let's look at that one more time, shall we? His wife was working abroad. Under which circumstances of their relationship, like what status it was at the time, don't know. But who abandoned who first? I mean, she went abroad. How long did she go abroad for? How many years has she been there? Like, how long does a spouse have to be abroad before you, like men, like we got needs. We're not just going to sit there and be good little boys while, you're off living the high life in like Dubai or something. In this next case, the husband was convicted of PV under section blah, blah, blah of VAWC, and the court held that his extramarital affair caused mental and emotional anguish to his wife, constituting PV. Notably, the court emphasized that proof of consummating a relationship with a mistress, putting your hoo-hoo into a woman's no-no place, a woman that is not your wife, that behavior is not, like, improving that behavior is not necessary in this case. So now, as the law was written, the woman would normally need to prove that. They call it concubinage. You have to prove that he's, got another place where he's taking care of a lady, and he's having intercourse with her. The wife would normally have to prove that. But because there's a higher bar to do that, it's more difficult, right? You'd have to know where he's spending his money. If he's paying cash for renting a side apartment for his side chick all the time, then you're not gonna know. So because the bar on that is so high, the women lean into the PV aspect of it. But when the law is interpreted, as hurt feelings being literal violence, I'm sorry you killed the word. Boom. The word has no more meaning anymore. You've totally destroyed it. And that's why I think that these laws are absolutely insane. It's just, they were either originally drafted and amended or just amended by the Gabriela party. And it's a women's rights party. They have a political party in the Philippines that exclusively makes women's rights, one of their modus operandi. And they've had their hands in this law. And I think that's why it's so vague and open to interpretation. And then as it is interpreted, words and feelings, hurt feelings, are violence now. So anyway, yeah. So, in the next case, I'll just sum it up Cole's note style. In the next case, it was shown, in the way that they interpreted the law and enforced it, if anybody helps you out. So they're still referring to it as violence, but if an individual who is not directly the person that the husband is doing the dirty with, if maybe a family member or a friend is helping him conspire to commit violence, because now hurt feelings. So if someone's, giving cover to a guy that's got an extramarital affair going on, then they too can be pulled into the clown show. So that's why, nobody's got sympathy for a man. Like, it's like you're completely subjugated at this point. Your friends, your family, everybody, they don't want to get any shit on them when it hits the fan. So your best friends, your family members, your cousins, your whoever, they may all turn on you the way this law is set up. Total subjugation of men. So I guess I'll wrap up that section. These cases illustrate that under Philippines law, estranged wives can file VAWC complaints against their husbands and for PV resulting from infidelity even after separation, because apparently cheating now on, even after you're separated is it through the mind of a lady, it becomes violence now. And the courts have recognized that such actions can cause significant emotional and psychological harm, warranting legal protection and remedies. Oh, you want more? You want more? I got more. Now, these ones are of celebrities, and celebrities are obviously more public. So there's an article for each one. And again, you can download this document. We're just going to look at how it happened with some of the celebrities. And I think that they got played even dirtier. So in this one case, the wife lodged twin complaints for psychological violence and concubinage. So at least she tried to reach that bar, like she tried to comply with that one. But then she threw in the PV just as a like a guarantee that she'd still win. Yeah. And then, yeah. So she had photographs and chat logs that showed her husband, was cohabitating with this other lady while they were still married, but separated. The next case is another celebrity. By the way, the last one and this one, both the lady's name is Sunshine. I don't know what year they were born, but yeah, I guess that was a popular name at the time. In this one, she accused her husband of physical, sexual, and psychological badness, and saying that his serial infidelity and alleged marital grape left her emotionally traumatized. So if you're not going to take care of your man and you're going to accuse him of grape, even though you're married to him, it's one thing to have a disagreement. It's one thing to say, no, thank you. It's another thing to argue about it, but to take it all the way through to court and make it public. If he's a celebrity as well, you've destroyed his career, his reputation. You're kicking the ladder out from under yourself, that borrowed ladder that you're sitting so highly on, because how is he going to financially support you after the fact if you make his career go away? Female logic, I guess. So yeah, I guess she's real fun at parties. I'll just leave it there. Moving on, this next one announced plans, and this one is a former Miss Universe from the Philippines. Her name is Jewel May Lobaton. She announced plans to do something, so she didn't even do it in court. She did it in the court of public opinion, which is just vile. Do it in court if you're going to do it at all. But she announced plans to charge a senator. So now she's messing with the country too, with PV and economic abuse. So he probably said, no, you can't have extra sugar or extra whipped cream on your Spanish cortado. Like who knows why she decided to get pissed off, but whatever, the well dried up, and she decided to take him to the court of public opinion, and then later drag him through court using VAWC against him. And yeah, so he cut off all financial support at one point. So I always wonder when a man does something like that seems crazy, I always wonder what the last thing the woman said was. I don't know. Maybe that's just how my mind works. I don't know if that's how yours works. In this next one, I don't know what a Marikina prosecutor's case is. So I'm just going to assume this is still falling under VAWC, because that's what I asked AI to provide. And it still does mention the Republic Act 9262, which is VAWC. So I'm just going to ignore the word and continue to move on. In this one, she filed a case for physical, sexual, psychological, and economic badness. So she checked all the boxes, and she cited battery and his alleged affairs during their separation. So, yep, maximum chances of getting cash and prizes. This next one is just brutal, man. The guy got 8 years, an 8-year prison term, because he abandoned his wife to live with his mistress, ruling the act constituted PV. And again, I just wonder what the last conversation they had was before he did that, before he moved on. Because it just feels like these laws assume that females never demonstrate toxic behavior or abusive behavior, and proving it, In this next case, the High Court upheld the conviction of a husband whose extramarital affair inflicted mental and emotional anguish on his legal wife. And in this one also, there was no proof of a sexual act required. In the next one, and the second from last one, this decision held that cohabitating with a new partner while still married on paper automatically presumes criminal intent and is punishable as PV. And then in the final case, the woman proved severe insomnia and depression after discovering her husband fathered 3 children with a mistress, and a conviction under the VAWC was affirmed. So I don't know how you can get blindsided by your husband moving on after you separate. and having 3 kids. Three. That's like 4 years. So in 4 years, you never got a whiff. She's just Scarlett O'Hara from Gone with the Wind right here. All right, let's just get through this. So why these cases matter. So these are 3 very important points to understand about VAWC. It has broad reach. Even when couples are already living apart, a husband's ongoing affair or public display of a mistress can still be punished if it causes mental or emotional anguish, which is completely intangible. Like, it's like back pain. You know, how do you prove it? Oh, well, I said so. Okay. And the next one, several wives paired VAWC complaints with concubinage or civil actions. But prosecutors increasingly refer, now listen to this one, it's important. They increasingly prefer VAWC because the evidentiary burden, i.e. proving psychological harm, is lower than concubinage, which requires showing scandalous cohabitation or a shared dwelling. So it's easier to just make shit up than it is to actually do the legwork and provide actual evidence that he is doing the thing that you say he's doing. Biting my tongue. And then this last, big point, the publicity surrounding these cases, like personally as a foreigner, in the public court of the court of public opinion, oh boy, as a podcaster and a foreigner living in being a foreign man in a foreign land, having kids and stuff like that. If there was any claim, I think, basically Philippines courts, they saw what was happening with Me Too and they said, hold my beer. I don't know if I've already said that in this recording because I've tried to record it so many times, but that's what this is. In the court of public opinion, a man is absolutely destroyed. Even if there's no grounds to it, even without evidence, a man is destroyed. So, yeah, that's why I'm being nice. And I will keep my personal affairs out of my podcasting career. Anyway, moving on. Marital infidelity remains actionable under criminal law, even post-separation, so long as the emotional fallout on the legal spouse is documented. That is the emotional fallout of the fairer sex. Because let's be real, men usually move on when they're abandoned and they don't lawyer up for cash and prizes. The key legal principles that we can gain from this, the PV defines PV as acts causing mental or emotional suffering, including infidelity that leads to emotional distress. I already covered all that. I've already talked about what I think about how, oh no, you hurt my feelings can become, okay, you're going to the slammer for violence. It's just wrong. Clobbering this thing over the head too much, going in circles. All right. While VAWC primarily targets individuals in intimate relationships with the victim, the law allows for the inclusion of third parties if they conspire or directly participate in the abusive acts. So again, they're calling it abuse. That's if somebody, throws some cover for you, maybe gives you an alibi. Now they're going to be thrown into this too. And then the last key principle here is that legal separation or annulment does not absolve a husband from liability under VAWC. If his actions post-separation cause psychological harm to the wife, she can still file a complaint. So now let's look at how easy it is to file a VAWC claim, and then we'll end this video. We'll put it right out of its misery, and I'm hoping that the next time that I mention VAWC on this channel is when I'm doing a discussion panel with 4 to 5 lovely Filipina ladies, and I'm asking them what they think of these cases. Because I'll be like, here, I'm going to read this to you. What do you think of this? I'm going to ask them what they think about it. And now I've already done 5 pilots. I recorded one and published it, and then I had to reboot my account because of a YouTube issue, which maybe one day in the members only, I'll tell you what that was. It's funny. There's a funny story as to how I nuked my own channel by accident because I didn't quite know how YouTube works. I made an inappropriate video for a friend, and I published it as an unlisted video on YouTube using my channel, the Philo Republic channel. And I thought, okay, it's just like Google Drive, Nope. So I lost the channel and I lost that video, but I did do, I published one, but I actually recorded 5. with 4 to 5 ladies per episode, so about 25 girls in total, and all of them but one plump feminist lady. Some men like to refer to these as the refrigerator that guards the snacks. All but one said that like VAWC is ridiculous. Marital grape is a ridiculous concept. I kind of think it's boomers. And then, I think it's going to skip a generation because I think the boomers are down with that for the cash and prizes. And then, 23 and up right now, they seem okay based on what I learned. When I was doing it, I learned that girls 22 and younger, I am the table. They've got all that Western influence in their heads. But the girls that are 22 and older, many of my friends, I have many female friends now, as a result of doing the casting for this podcast. I've made a lot of inroads in the area, and I'm getting to be well known. They all claim that, a lot of these laws and a lot of these behaviors are absolutely ridiculous, and that they have, if they're being provided for, they're as good as gold. They're going to be very respectful, and they would never file a VAWC claim. So, I mean, maybe it's just a ticking time bomb. Maybe it's a matter of time for every woman. But no, let's take a look at how easy it is to file a claim. So the first thing you have to do, is gather evidence, obviously. Collect any proof of the husband's infidelity and its impact on your mental health, such as messages, photos, or testimonies. But that's too hard. That's too hard. I mean, look at all of the cases that I just read to you. Apparently that was too hard. Too much work. These ladies are way too low effort, that they did not gather much evidence at all. They relied on the next one. Point 2, the second thing that you do is you seek psychological evaluation. It's too easy. Obtain a professional assessment to document the emotional and psychological effects of the husband's actions. What about when, hypothetically speaking, a woman removes a man from the household, from his own children, cuts off all communication and kidnaps them and takes them to another island? What kind of psychological effects is that going to have on the man? VAWC is only allowed. Only women can use VAWC. There is no legal equivalent for men. So, yeah, get a psychological evaluation from a professional who can back up your story. So that's what they usually do instead of doing the evidence route, because that's too hard. File a complaint. The next thing you should do is approach the barangay women's desk, which literally 20 feet from your house in the Philippines. Everyone's got one. Everyone's got one in their own neighborhood, a block from their house. They have a barangay, and each barangay, apparently, I'm learning now, has a woman's desk. Or you can go to the Women and Children Protection Desk at the local police station, or you can just go to a public attorney's office to file a complaint under VAWC. And then the fourth step is the legal proceeding. This case will undergo preliminary investigation, and if probable cause is found, it will proceed to court for trial. So that is how easy it is to completely crush a man's soul in the Philippines. So again, just as a reminder, I don't know anyone personally that's had this happen to them. It's never happened to me. Even though we don't really have communication, and maybe that's why things are so up and up on my front. But this is a pain that I would never want to experience ever. And it scares the shit out of me. So that's why I'm going to try to keep this podcast clean always. So the moral of the story, the legal system feels like it is a business like any other. It's a whole industry built on an intrusion that benefits the government, lawyers, malicious people, et al., and crushes men and fathers in doing so. I had a little diatribe in the beginning of this video where I just thought that the government has no place in my bedroom. It has no place regulating marriage. It should be between you and your church, you and God alone. And it is an intrusion. They have no place. And I guess I'll leave it at that. What do you think? What do you think of VAWC? I've beat it over the head sufficiently. This is an incredibly long video. I didn't think it was going to get this long, and I'm not re-recording it. So this is it. I am Mike Fluke. Thank you for watching the File a Republic podcast. If anything on this video has pissed you off, or, and you'd like to make it known, leave a comment. If you're a Karen, if you are a woman and you think that a foreigner should shut his mouth on the matters of, these laws in the Philippines, even though marriage laws do affect me too. But if you think I should shut my mouth, tell me why in the comments. And I guess that's it, folks. Thanks for watching. Have a good one. You're still here? Shit, wasn't 45 minutes already enough? Oh. All right, I got more points. I got a couple more points for you. One, there's a checkbox. I forget which form it is. I think it's involving marriage. You can say that you're a Muslim. You can check the Muslim checkbox. And then suddenly, poof, you're allowed 4 wives. Boom, problem solved, right? You can have 4 wives in the Philippines if you are from the religion of peace. Good to know, right? Good to know. Great post-credit scene, I hope. And then the other point I wanted to make was that I think that, all of these laws, call me a conspiracy theorist, but I really feel like they're disincentivizing foreigners from having kids in the Philippines because you're a foreigner. And if you don't have kids, or if you do and you just don't give a flying F, you can just leave. It's an unspoken, I know the word threat triggers ladies, but it is an unspoken threat that you can leave the country at any time. So if they file a VAWC case against you, it takes years before there's a punishment. If you just leave the country, no more cash and prizes. The train stops. There's no more. So if you don't have kids in the Philippines, that unspoken law, the lady will be a little bit more receptive to your concerns about things, and you're less likely to get a VAWC complaint because they know if you've got no kids, and maybe that's what I overlooked. I've got a lot of friends that like I told you, like no one I know has had a VAWC case. What I didn't put together at the time of talking was that I'm the only one that had kids. So as sad as it is, like I love my boys, like I would never change that. But if I didn't have them, I could have walked away too, So it's up to you. It's up to you what you do with your life. But one, you can be a Muslim. You can be an honorary Muslim, when you get married, and then you can have up to 4 wives. And then the other loophole is to just not have kids. So there's that always unspoken, thought that you can leave the country at any time, and the cash and the prizes come with you. And then the third hack, this is not verified. But I've been told this from a very, very, very good source. He's an elderly guy. He's lived in this country a long time. He's fully coherent. He's, and he's got a lot of experience. And he told me that if you get married in the Philippines, you get a marriage contract, right? But then if you separate and you find another lady, you can just get married again, stick that one on top of the other one, and then you're married again. And then you don't have any of those other problems. There's no slippery slope. So those are 3 hacks that you could use to get over this. Either Muslim, no kids, or you just marry the next one, which would be the biggest, F you, in my opinion. But thanks for watching this long. Consider joining the members only area, please, good sir or madam.